Story 1.
My wife and I have been together for nearly 10 years. We've been married 5 years and have 2 beautiful girls, 5 and 7 years. I make a great living, 6 figures, in engineering, enough so my wife does not have to work. We have a 6-bedroom house with a yard and swing set in the back. My wife's mother and 15-year-old sister live with us, and I have been supporting them as well for over 2 years. Over the past few years, my wife and I were starting to have a lot of issues and our relationship was dissolving. I could see it happening, so I convinced my wife to go to marriage counseling with me. Neither of us was happy, and counseling really opened my eyes to our destructive behaviors. I was working on becoming a better husband and father, and I thought my wife was working too. Then I went away for a few weeks on business and was tipped off by a friend that my wife was spending a lot of time with a particular guy. I had met this guy once in the past and was told he was a friend of my wife's friends, and that was about it. Needless to say, I was on the next flight back home. That night when my wife picked me up from the airport, she seemed distant and unexcited to see me. I had not said anything to her as to why I really had come back, just that I had missed her and the kids. When we got home, she immediately went to bed. I stayed up for a little while, and when she was asleep, I grabbed her phone. FYI, when your spouse starts keeping their phone on them all the time, even when they are sleeping or in the shower, they are hiding something. I found the guy's name and pulled up the text messages. She had erased them all. A quick glance at the cell phone record showed over 20 TXT messages to him a day. I woke her up and asked her to explain this. She denied everything, said they were just friends, and she deleted them because she knew I would take it the wrong way. My suspicions grow larger every day, and I begin closely monitoring her cell phone records. It grows too much for me to bear, and I tell her that she needs to stop all communication with him. I even confront the guy, civilly, at his home and ask him to respectfully stop talking to my wife. He agrees to stop. My wife begins to hold resentment towards me because she feels I have broken up this perfectly acceptable friendship she has with him. She does, however, seem to stop texting and talking to the guy. I do, however, notice a sudden surge in her data usage from the phone, which I identified as Facebook messaging. She clings to her phone ever closer now and constantly denies any communication with the guy. I begin feeling paranoid and decide to put it behind me and focus on being a better husband and father. I start listening, helping more with the kids, being more involved with their daily activities, not stressing as much about money and other minor issues. I start doing my own laundry and the kids just to help out. I start trying to be involved with what's important to her and what she's passionate about. She loves horses. I bought her a horse a few years back, and I help her try to find a job in the industry so she can get out more and have self-worth. We go out for big dinner to celebrate her brother's birthday. All of her cousins and friends are there, and we have a great dinner. Most everyone, including her, go to the bar next door after dinner. I was hanging back in the restaurant with one of her cousins when the manager approached me with her phone asking if I knew who it belonged to. It was my wife's phone, and I opened up her Facebook app to find a bunch of messages between them. She says how much she loves him and misses him, how she misses the smell of him on her jacket, and how she'll never take it off. She also refers to him as my one and only. The messages just get worse, and I can't take anymore. Her cousin reads the messages as well and also in shock. After confronting her and reading through all the messages, she admits to me that she had feelings for him, but insists that they never had sex. She claims that they only kissed on 2 occasions. I tell her that I can't believe her and that I don't trust a word she says. I truly believe they didn't have sex, but I won't tell her that. She tells me that she was with him because of me and the years of neglect I gave her. I feel like my world is collapsing around me. I feel betrayed, furious, and foolish all at once. I don't want to get a divorce. But I don't want to be married to someone that doesn't love me. She says she wants to work through this, but I don't know what I want yet. I feel like she is yearning to find her individuality and wants to prove that she doesn't need me. I love her and find it difficult to be angry. But I feel that the only way she'll appreciate what she has is by losing it, or at least some of it. What should I do?
Update.
I spoke with a lawyer last week. He gave me some great advice. At the time I was staying with a friend, and he told me I needed to go back home. In my state there is an abandonment clause, and she could say I deserted her and the kids. So, I'm back home, sleeping in the basement. He also told me I have enough evidence to prove she committed adultery, and because of that I may not have to pay her alimony. Child support obviously yes, but not a penny more. He did also tell me whatever I do, don't have sex with her. If I do, I'm condoning the affair and have no grounds to say she committed adultery. He told me that he advises his women clients to try and get in their husband's pants if they cheated on him. I have opened up a new checking account in my name and have already changed my direct deposit to this account. I canceled all of our joint credit cards and enabled fraud and credit monitoring. I spoke with a realtor last week and will be putting my house on the market next month. I told them they will have to sort out a place for themselves after I have sold the house. On another note, my wife did go out and find a job. She's working for her uncle's moving company, making not much, but I hope she can now appreciate what a hard day's work feels like. I'm sure it was in response to the fact that I told her I wouldn't be paying for the boarding or feed of her horse anymore. That and when I canceled her gas card. I had bought her a Lexus GX 470, and I can tell you it isn't cheap filling that car up. As far as the kids go, I'm doing my best to minimize the impact on them. I won't argue or fight around them, and I make sure they are well taken care of. I think the best thing I have gotten out of this is knowing that it is not my fault and that it is she that needs to try hardest to fix things.
Update.
8 months later, in a nutshell, I'm doing a lot better. Over the months I have been on a roller coaster of emotions with highs and lows. For a while I was severely depressed and in a dark place. It was hard for me to get out of bed in the morning and go to work. In fact, a lot of the time I didn't. I had a lot, and still do, of pain and anger to work through. My first instinct was to get back at her and really make her feel the consequences of her actions. We decided on a monthly amount of money that I would pay her for child support, which was much more than I was required to pay her by law, but I felt it was the right thing to do at the time. My lawyer drafted up the settlement agreement and all we had to do was sign. Knowing what she could expect from me each month, she found a house for rent about 45 minutes from the city. It seemed like a nice place for the girls to live and the schools are really good. I knew she couldn't afford such a nice place closer to town, so I thought it would be good. Part of the settlement agreement was that a non-related member of the opposite sex could not spend the night while the children were present. I.e., she can't have her boyfriend sleeping over when the kids were there. This also applied to me, no chicks spending the night when the kids are with me. Now this provision of the settlement agreement is actually quite common and endorsed by our state. Needless to say, within the first week of her moving into her new place and before we had a chance to sign the settlement agreement, she had this man sleeping over several nights a week. The kicker is, she tried to have the kids lie about it to me. This really made me angry. I had my lawyer revoke the settlement offer and I told her the new deal was I would give her nothing, ask for everything and only pay the child support as obligated by the state. Not a penny more. Took her a while to realize she messed up, but now she is struggling to make ends meet. Don't get me wrong, the kids are well taken care of. I always make sure they have everything they need when it comes to food, clothing, play and anything else. I just pay for that directly, I don't give the money to her. She still doesn't have a job. She says she's looking, but to be honest I don't care, it's her problem now, not mine. I started doing CrossFit and have completely transformed myself. It has really helped me through this. I'm in the best shape of my life. I feel amazing and am brimming with confidence. I met a new girl who is amazing. I think I like her so much because she is the opposite of my ex. She is smart, extremely successful, beautiful, has ambitions and we get along great. I'm not diving right back into another relationship. I made that perfectly clear with her from the get-go, and she completely understands what it is we have and is okay with it. Meeting the new girl was really the turning point for me. I now had a friend who I could talk to, spend time with, comfort me and be intimate with. It lifted my spirits and changed my general mood. I was starting to become happy again. And since then, things have only got better. I was able to let go of a lot of the anger I had towards my ex. My ex and I get along really well now. We talk regularly and always put the kids first. I may hate what she did to me, and I will never forget that, but she is the mother of my children, so it's in everyone's best interest that we get along. No, we are not going to get back together. I can never, and will never, trust her again. But we can be friends and get along. There are certainly things that I will not get over. The man who she cheated on me with is one of them. As I told her, I will never accept him or even acknowledge his existence. It would be best, especially for him, if I never saw him again. There is more if anyone is at all interested. I posted this latest follow-up because someone was curious how things were going. I also just wanted to say thank you to everyone here who provided me with such good advice and support. And if you are going through this yourself, I'm sorry, but be strong. You will get through this.
My opinion. What an interesting story with lots of detail and updates. I'm happy for you that you've managed to keep on living good life after what's happened. Lots of support and good advices. That is what we are looking for when sharing such a story. Probably asking some help from a lawyer. who is working with the same scenarios on a daily basis is the best thing to do in such a situation, where you cannot make good decisions yourself because of all the emotions you experience. And I want to thank you for supporting your kids and keeping a fairly decent, well, in that situation of course, relations with your ex-wife. What a good example of going through such an uneasy situation. What are your thoughts about this story? Let me know in the comment box below. Story 2.
This morning I woke up in my sister's house and I'm immediately in tears. My wife, who's 31 and I 35, have been together 10 years and married 7. We never had a perfect relationship, but we were both happy. We struggled to have kids, eventually doing IVF, and having a gorgeous baby girl who is now 2. It seems the past 5 or so years were all about getting pregnant for her. She quit her job to reduce stress and I supported her in doing that. Financially, we've never had to worry about money because her family is wealthy and she has a trust fund, which owns our house and pays for most of our bills. Despite this, I've continued to work as a lawyer, which I don't like, and started my own firm last year. Last year we were pregnant again after yet another round of IVF and she had a miscarriage, which is very rare when you're doing IVF, I'm told. I wasn't allowed in the hospital with her when it happened, and she was emotionally scarred from the experience. Her parents and I suggested she should get therapy for it, but she refused. I feel like I did my best to comfort her, but she spiraled into a depression and her way of getting out of it was to seek outside affection. One of the things we would fight about was my discomfort with her having friendships with other men, all of whom she met and had been friends with for many years before me, but I felt it was inappropriate for a married woman to be so frequently texting with the opposite sex. Most days we would be home watching TV and I'd look over and she was on her phone, often texting another man. Some of these friendships were truly platonic. I don't know if she cheated in the past, but she could have. I'm a trusting and forgiving person, and I gave her too much leeway. In retrospect, I feel like an idiot for not leaving her years ago just because she wouldn't respect my wishes that she does not have these relationships. We had several blowout fights over me finding that she was texting her ex-boyfriend, and sometimes I felt like she felt she could do whatever she wants. This was all so painful too because I'd say everyone that knows us would say that I am a wonderful father and husband. I truly don't know why someone I love would be so callous to me, but she has been. After the miscarriage we started to drift further apart. We didn't have a great sexual life before, but after that it drifted from a few times a week to once or twice a month. I lost interest and so did she. We both admitted that we didn't enjoy sleeping together. She is very beautiful, but for some reason I just stopped wanting to have sex with her and she stopped trying too. I began to resent the fact that she didn't work and would spend her days napping or watching TV while I worked in our home office. Our daughter is in full-time daycare, and we have a weekly maid service, so she doesn't have a lot of responsibility. Anyway, in September, she told me she was going to visit a friend in CA. In reality, she saw her ex and later admitted they kissed, but it was probably more than that. I found out when I found texts on her phone about it a month later. We almost divorced, but we decided to work it out. So, the past 6 months were better. She went to therapy for her grief about the miscarriage and we talked about couples counseling, but she wanted to work on herself first. I felt like things were getting better. We bought a new house and had a big party for our daughter's 2nd birthday. And she invited this guy, a friend she hadn't spoken to in years but had reconnected with on Facebook. Of course, I was annoyed, but 10 years of conditioning and fighting told me I couldn't object. Well, now she is having an affair with him and says she is in love. Of course, I found out by snooping. Even after being caught, she denied it and gaslighted me for days. When she finally admitted it, she said she wanted an open marriage. I considered it. I'd enjoy having new partners as well, but as we discussed it the next day or so, I realized that that kind of relationship only works if you place your primary partner above all else, so my wishes should always be first. I told her I would be open to it but not with this guy, because it made me uncomfortable that she said she loved him. She refused to stop seeing him and acted as if I was unreasonable. Day before yesterday was day 3 after I knew she'd been cheating. We agreed to this open situation, but I was still unhappy. I found myself crying uncontrollably multiple times a day. For one day she put on the facade of telling me I was her number one and she doted on me all day. At the end of the day, she announced that once our daughter was in bed she was going to his place. This upset me and I started crying. She said, "Okay fine, I won't go," and then pouted for the next few hours. Finally, I just told her to leave because I knew that's what she wanted. So, she left. I woke up at 2 a.m. alone with our baby crying. I called her and told her I missed her and would like her to come home. She was very annoyed and said she would be home before our daughter woke up. I guess thinking what I cared about was her helping as a parent rather than me wanting my companion. When she came home yesterday, she was cold to me. It was like night and day compared to the day before. I wasn't her number one and she said she needed to think about what she wanted. I asked her to work with me on this open marriage thing and be understanding how hurt I am. I asked that she not have overnight stays with him, and she argued with me that there was no difference. This made me realize that an open marriage wouldn't work because she doesn't respect my wishes. She loves him and it doesn't seem like she loves me anymore. So, I packed a bag and took my daughter to my sister's house. Since I left, she hasn't made any effort to reach out to me other than to ask how our daughter is. I woke up this morning to a text asking when I was coming home. I responded that I wasn't because you don't want me anymore. It's been over an hour with no response. I'm a mess, but I guess better not being there. I just can't believe this is happening. I feel so sad and alone and betrayed. I'm fearful about my future because she owns everything and I signed a prenup that says I get nothing but what I came in with, which was nothing. So now I'm 35, starting over with nothing. My law firm is just barely starting to make a profit. But I also miss her and desperately want her to reach out and tell me she loves me. I'm sure she's happy I'm gone though. I just ask God what I did to deserve this. How could someone I love to hurt me so badly? For anyone wondering, I took my daughter with me, but I am not preventing my wife from seeing her. If she called right now wanting to pick her up, it would be fine. It's telling me that she hasn't.
My opinion. What a story we have just listened. I feel so sad about this man and his marriage. You've passed through a lot of things together, including loss of the probable second child. Probably, it was one of the reasons she felt into this depression. The second reason, in my opinion, is that she doesn't have much to do in life. You have your daughter in full-time daycare, plus the maid. What is her purpose? Just to chill and sit in the house? That feels like a depressive situation for me. Probably one of the options will be to come back and find something to do for her. Or going to couples counseling if you find a good one. Also, if you know you will not forgive her cheating, as in previous case, the best thing will be to find yourself a good divorce lawyer who has experience in such uneasy cases. Of course, you're a lawyer yourself, but I feel like there will be many emotions to make good and weighted decisions. Think over this possibility as well, before you make any emotional decision. What do you think about these stories? Let me know in the comments below.